Hi, this is Ezra Roizen with Vidra TV, and we're here with Easy from VC Cafe, and we're looking forward to getting some insights from Easy. And Easy and I were just talking because my name's Ezra, his full name's Ezequiel, and I go by Ez, he goes by Easy, so we actually, in a way, have the same name, just he extends it out a little more.
We're too easy.
We're too easy. We're two Easies. The VC Cafe is the Israeli TechCrunch, Craigslist, sort of entrepreneur, make it happen site. Kind of a little bit actually Vidra-ish. Definitely a new angle on how to help companies grow. It was listed in the Wall Street Journal as one of the top 100 VC blogs, which is interesting because Easy is not actually a VC, but he's helped facilitating the formation of capital. So in many ways, he's sort of a virtual VC. He's also serves, he's a product manager at ask.com. And he's also on the steering committee of Under the Radar of two events coming to the Bay Area and two venues, Under the Radar and the Israeli Web Tour, Israel Web Tour.
Correct.
And so a great, all kind of entrepreneurial street cred and credentials for what you're doing. So why don't we start out by getting a quick summary of VC Cafe and what you're up to with that project.
Okay. First of all, thanks for the warm introduction. I'm almost blushing. VC Cafe started in December of 2005, basically as a pastime blog. After a challenging experience somewhat of trying to raise money for a startup in Israel. And I realized that many early stage startups need the exposure to get some positive coverage or any coverage on their products and ideas and business plans. And it started as a hobby and grew to something much larger. And I realized the positive impact that VC Cafe has on these companies and decided to dedicate my spare time to continue covering the blog, whether it was following the news or conducting exclusive interviews with CEOs, VCs, and entrepreneurs.
And your objective with the blog is, on one hand, to provide coverage, but also to actually make some sort of connection. Is that true?
Yeah, there's many purposes, and some of them just became a purpose while I was going. But yes, it's the multi-purpose blog is to provide coverage, help reflect Israel in a positive light, because I think that there's much more to Israel outside of the politics, and also facilitate the capital from VCs to startups by exposing early-stage product, tech innovation, and positive leadership in the business community. Is
your objective to sort of expose Israeli companies to other Israeli investors, or to bring outside investment into Israel, or have you seen trends in what's happening through the blog?
So I'm flexible in terms of where the capital comes from. I think that the fact that I write about Israeli companies in English mainly addresses American investors or international investors. Most of the news that you'll see on Israeli startups is usually written in Hebrew, which makes the blog basically very unique in the terms that it addresses in English, because it's a niche topic that not many other people cover.
Do you find most of your visitors are coming from within Israel or from all over the world?
Most of the visitors are coming from the U.S. Number 2 on the list would be Israel, and then Europe is a strong 3, UK.
Are there, and the origins of this were in your own efforts to create a company and sort of your own experience raising money and gathering momentum for your venture. Are there things you're finding that Israeli entrepreneurs need because of the environment where they are, because of the capital markets there? Are there particular things that they need to help sort of spark growth in their environment?
Israeli entrepreneurs are very tech-oriented, and part of it comes from the mandatory military service that gets them into like a problem-solving mentality. But they sometimes lack the marketing skills or the ability to go to the market in the U.S., which is the main market. Israel has the highest ratio of startups per capita, but it's a very small country, so startups in Israel usually try to sell their products to the American market, and that's the bridge that I'm trying to build with VC Cafe. Right. Basically taking great product ideas and great technology and exposing them to the American crowd, which is where the market is and when the investors are looking for innovation.
Right. Are there kinds of companies that you're finding you cover, maybe things that you're interested in, or just where there's a active entrepreneurial environment in Israel? Are they sort of web services companies? Are they Web 2.0? Are they semiconductors? Are they software, pure software plays, or other kinds of tech companies?
Yeah.
What are you finding?
It's a great question, but it's pretty diverse. I'm personally more interested on internet companies, but clean tech is pretty strong in Israel. Solar power has a probably like an 85 to 90% penetration in Israel. Internet startups are abundant. Just recently we saw the sale of Quigo to AOL for $300 million. We saw also Yeda, the Q&A service, get sold to AOL as well for an undisclosed sum. And the internet is definitely a strong segment in Israel. Also, I think that you see a lot of innovation in terms of medical and biotech startups, which is less of my focus on VC Cafe, but I dwell into that as well.
Right. Are there when you meet with and interview these companies for the site and the entrepreneurs, are they usually people who are starting businesses for the first time? Is there a big pool of what we call in Silicon Valley serial entrepreneurs? Are these people who are starting companies over again? What's the entrepreneurial pool like of new folks coming into the scene in Israel?
There's definitely a pool of serial entrepreneurs.
Right.
The tech bubble in Israel, 2000 probably hit pretty hard, but there was a time where everybody I knew was in a startup or funding a startup. So there's definitely second-time and third-time entrepreneurs, which is great for investors that are looking to get some kind of confidence in the management team.
Right. As you look forward to VC Cafe, what is your plan with this company? What do you want to see happen? Is it something that you're going to grow yourself? Are you going to hire people? Are you going to syndicate out and create sort of a mashup blog site? Or is it going to be something you raise money for? What's your plan?
So, first of all, disclaimer, VC Cafe right now is my labor of love.
Right.
And I dedicate a lot of my spare time to this idea, and it's growing phenomenally. But I think that in the long run, I see VC Cafe as a resource for everything that's connected to Israeli startups. Right now, I would love to call it the Israeli Tech Crunch.
Right.
But I think that in the future, it can become the place where you go to for publicly traded Israeli companies, the place you go to find new Israeli startups. And not only that, I see VC Cafe as a gateway to basically serve startups and connect them to capital.
If you were advising, which in a way you do, but if you were advising an Israeli startup that was seeking to raise money, are there particular things in your experience or things you've seen, raising money and dealing with lots of companies that are engaging maybe from Israel with European capital markets or U.S. capital markets? Are there particular gems of advice or pearls of advice you'd pass on to them that may or may not? Maybe they're the same things you'd tell someone in Silicon Valley, but are there differences?
I would give them the same advice that I give myself. One is think big.
Right.
And you have to plan and start your company as if you're going global. Because otherwise it's really hard to scale. Right. Two is be very focused and decide what your purpose is. Don't try to do everything. Do one thing very well, and your product will become viral. And three is, I think, put all the cards on the table and kind of don't change directions in the middle. Decide what you want to do. Put the cards on the table. Communicate it to the investors. Communicate it to the media, and it will grow naturally.
Great. I think that covers most of the things. Are there any other things you'd like to say to the Vidra TV viewership on VC Cafe or starting companies in Israel or any other things that you'd like to cover?
I'll take the opportunity to do a shameless
plug. Go for it. Give it.
VC Cafe is looking for startups who want to get featured and for investors who want to find Israeli companies to invest in. You can contact me at eze@vccafe.com or come in, subscribe to the site, and find relevant Israeli news.
That sounds great. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks a lot.
This is Ezra Roizen with Vidra.tv, and thanks for tuning in.